This is a mushroom island in Minecraft, and it's probably the strangest location in the entire game. Typically, Minecraft's overworld biomes are based on environments found in the real world. However, the mushroom island serves as an outlier, being one of the only overworld biomes to be entirely unique to the game. They are purple mycelium-covered islands which house hundreds if not thousands of mushrooms which vary in size. The biome's inhabitants are just as strange too, as living on top of the purple paradise is a species of cows that are seemingly covered head to toe in mushrooms. My goal in this video is to get to the bottom of Minecraft's mushroom islands. Why are they so strange? Why are the animals on it so strange? Is something like this even dangerous? Well, in this video, we'll be diving into the mystery behind Minecraft's Mushroom Islands, and we'll be determining what exactly they are. We have got a lot to discuss today, so with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so I want to begin by explaining exactly what Mushroom Islands are and what makes them so unique. Incredibly rarely throughout Minecraft's vast oceans, you can occasionally find a purple landmass sprouting with fungi. These are mushroom islands, and like their name suggests, they are, well, islands. These special environments only appear in isolated patches of land within oceans, never connected to another landmass. That already is a very interesting requirement for them to spawn, but they also carry some other unique properties. In addition to the incredibly large amount of mushrooms on the islands, mobs known as Mooshrooms can also spawn on the islands. This is the only biome these mobs spawn in, and they appear to be variants of cows that are overgrown with mushrooms. Lastly, but certainly not least, Mushroom Islands are one of two biomes in the overworld which hostile mobs physically cannot spawn in. This unique characteristic will be important later, so keep it in the back of your mind for now. Alright, so with all of that being said, let's dissect why these islands are so unique when compared to other biomes, starting with their isolation. As I said, mushroom islands can never spawn attached to another landmass. Almost all of them are surrounded by ocean on all sides. I believe the reasoning behind this is because being an isolated island is the only way for the biome to form. As you may know, mushroom islands aren't made of dirt or rock, but rather a special block known as mycelium. Mycelium is a special substance which fungi use to communicate with one another and transfer resources, making it part of the mushrooms on top of the island. Mycelium can only be found on these rare islands, which is very strange considering how mushrooms can be found everywhere else in the game, including the Nether. You can find these things on biomes such as dark forests, and they can even appear gigantic in size just like they do on mushroom islands. So why does mycelium only appear on these islands and nowhere else? Well, I believe it's because that is the only place where they can actually flourish. You see, I believe mushroom islands are a prime example of adaptive radiation. This is a biological principle in which a species will tend to occupy all the space within an environment that has no other competitors. In biomes such as dark forests, there are a ton of other species that compete with the mushrooms to prevent it from attaining the nutrients and resources needed to spread its mycelium, at least to the extent seen on mushroom islands. I mean, we're talking about sheep, cows, even the trees, those all take nutrients from the mushrooms. On Mushroom Islands, though, no competitors exist, meaning the mushrooms are free to spread and take over the entire landmass, covering the ground with mycelium and making themselves the dominant species. This would actually explain why Mushroom Islands only appear in isolation. However, there is something which I am keeping out. If mushroom islands exist only because mushrooms are the only species present there, then why are mooshrooms present? After all, these things are technically cows, so why do they exist alongside the mushrooms in this biome? Well, I think the answer to that lies in how mushrooms work. In-game, mushrooms appear to gain nutrients from organic matter. It is why they appear on fallen, decaying logs and why they can be found on nutrient-rich soil on the forest floors. The mushrooms on Mushroom Islands, likely through their heightened power as a result of low competition from other species, probably managed to overtake a population of cows located on the island before it was completely transformed into the Mushroom Island we see in-game today, leeching off of the cow's nutrients, resulting in the creation of mooshrooms. Typically, in an ecosystem, the stronger species outcompetes a weaker one, leading to its extinction in that ecosystem. In the case of Mushroom Islands, though, the mushrooms, which are the stronger species, benefited from the presence of cows on the islands, as they provided nutrients they could consume, leading to the mushrooms overtaking the cows' bodies and becoming one with them. The symbiotic relationship between mushrooms and cows seems to transcend just a mere coating of mycelium on their skin too, as the milk of the mooshroom has directly been influenced by the mushrooms overtaking the mob, proving just how deep their connection is. So, with those two questions answered, let's solve the final one. Why do no hostile mobs spawn in Mushroom Islands? In fact, the only mob which can spawn here are mushrooms, so why is that the case? This is partly answered by how Mushroom Islands are isolated land masses, and mushrooms have overtaken the entire ecosystem, leading to there being no room for other species to survive and thrive, except mushrooms, which, as I've said, exist because they likely provide the mushrooms with nutrients. The other part of the answer lies within another biome, which, although seemingly unrelated, actually has the same characteristic as the Mushroom Island, and that is the Deep Dark. As you may have known, these underground biomes are the home of the Skulk, and just like the Mushroom Islands, no other mobs can spawn here besides the Warden, also being made of Skulk. Skulk and mushrooms actually are very similar to each other, as both feed on the dead, and have outcompeted all other species in their respective ecosystems, only allowing one species which it controls to walk alongside it. Although it is more obvious to notice that Skulk likely killed all other species living within its environment to use as sustenance, given how it physically spreads when exposed to death, we see that in-game, it's possible the same, albeit to a lesser degree, exists for mushrooms as well. As I had said, mushrooms have been shown to feed on dead and decaying matter, so just like Skulk, it's possible that it outcompeted the other species and fed on their corpses, leading to an abundance of food resources which enabled rapid growth and the eventual takeover of the now mushroom-covered island. This is why no other mobs spawn on Mushroom Islands, and the Deep Dark by extension. Both tell the story of a species which overtook their environment, and intentionally or not, killed all other species to ensure its own survival and rapid growth, which is pretty cool of a concept. When you look at a mushroom island, you may think it's some fantasy setting with never-seen-before creatures and characteristics. You may completely avoid that and just focus on the rare blocks and mobs featured on just this one ecosystem. However, these biomes are actually just examples of very common biological principles at play, such as adaptive radiation. These principles also exist within our own worlds, and they are ones you interact with each and every day. The buildings you enter, the roads you drive on, all are mini ecosystems which humans have claimed as their own and use for their own endeavors, just like how mushrooms claimed certain islands to spread their influence in mycelium. In a way, we are all mushrooms with our own little mushroom islands, and I think that's pretty neat. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like down below, and while you're down there, leave a comment stating if you have ever seen a mushroom island in Minecraft, as they are pretty rare. And with all of that being said, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.